education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up. All those buildings all over the place. And you have people that in many cases hate our children.
There's literally no comparison in any of the countries. Like, these guys will be like, China's doing better than us. Like, they'll be like, Norway's doing better than us. And it's like, yeah, dude. They also have departments of education. Like, we need more. We need more nationalization on that process, not less. Let's get back into it. All right, we're going to do fucking border czar. Incoming Trump's border czar.
Trump's granddaughter with Elon Musk, with the Trump family,
What is
and
this?
clearly is finding himself with an influential part of Trump's early sort of cabal of people who are helping set up his new government. It's an interesting development given how much wealth he has, how much conflicts he has throughout the world, what he has already done in China, what he is doing with the war effort in Ukraine, and it will be interesting to see what role he has, official or otherwise, in the Trump administration going forward.
Yes, fingerprints, Elon Musk's fingerprints or Twitter prints all over the place right now during this transition. Steve Conterno, thank you very much for that.
We just heard announced that Tom Homan, the former head of ICE, is going to be Trump's border czar. He had a conversation on 60 Minutes. I want to play a little bit of that.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together. It's not going to be a mass sweep of neighborhoods. It's not going to be building concentration camps. I've read it all. It's ridiculous.
So, Scott, how do you see this being Trump's policy sort of being meted out?
Well, first of all, I think Mr. Homan is the exact right choice, and I'm glad the president has moved on that so quickly because it was such a big part of his campaign. Number two, look, there's a whole bunch of people in this country that don't need to be here. In fact, there's, I think, 1.3 million people who've already received deportation orders from federal courts. They've already had due process. They need to leave. And so there's a good place to start. There's a whole other bunch of people who are here that we know have committed violent crimes, either where they were or since they've been here. They need to be sent away as well. So there are large numbers of people that need to be taken out of this country, and I think Mr. Homan is going to be the person who's most capable of getting that done. And for those who think that this is somehow unusual, it's not. Every administration deports people. Barack Obama deported all kinds of people, lots of people, in fact. And so it's something that the executive branch can and should do when due process.
Sick, man. I'm glad that the CNN's resident right-wing freak is just going full tilt, blood and soil. I like that. CNN is just like indistinguishable from Fox News now. It's great. Who was the one directing ICE under Obama? It was Tom fucking Homan. No, I know. And I hated it back then. So that's the problem. This is why I fucking... This is why I fucking criticize the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party. This is why it's very frustrating. Yes, Barack Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief for this fucking reason. See, this is why you aren't VP turned loser presidential candidate. You can't acknowledge good ideas. It's crazy because people will then turn around and be like, it's crazy because then, you know, people turn around and they're like, we don't have uniparty here, okay? Yeah, also breaking news, the Democrats have officially lost the House, for the record. Republicans win the House, delivering a Trump trifecta. In 2015, President Obama gave him a presidential rank award as a distinguished executive. WAPO quoted saying, Thomas Homan deports people, and he's really good at it. Good thing. Good thing the Dems have been hitting that fucking line, dude. We are becoming an increasingly far-right nation. We've always been pretty fucking far to the right in many respects. Okay. Any chance for spoilers in the Red Party? Or are we screwed? I mean, they can't be consistent on anything. So there will always be some chaos. Waltz Trump has asked Florida Rep Mike Waltz to be his national security advisor. This congressman is known as a China hawk and NATO critic. Waltz worked in the Pentagon as a defense policy director for Secretaries of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and Robert Gates, by the way. He is not a NATO critic. He went on to serve in the White House as the vice president's counterterrorism advisor. Waltz wrote, Warrior Diplomat, a Green Berets battles from Washington to Afghanistan. Okay. He is, guys, if you want to watch a debate way back in the day between myself and Boner Chelly, it's somewhere out there in the archives where I used to debate him when we had, or at least I thought he had similar positions to mine. One of the debates we had was about how Donald Trump is a very successful and very normal right winger. Okay. That still remains. That attitude I have about Donald Trump still very much remains. Okay. If you want to understand like the dynamic all the way back that I called out all the way back in like 2018 or something. Yeah. It's on my YouTube. This is why I said, let me see if I can find the debate. I can't because obviously literally everything on YouTube is like the 7 gorillion times Destiny has mentioned me crying. Holy fuck. Jesus fucking Christ. It's on my YouTube somewhere. Oh, here, this is it.
Gosh.
Mike Pence is just HasanAbi versus Destiny. Is Trump a successful Republican or not?
Can we get back to Trump's effectiveness? Because I think this is an issue that you and I absolutely have a disagreement on, as far as like what...
God, with a fucking Blue Yeti mic. But if you want to see my opinions even back then with my real voice before I hit puberty, okay, there's a throwback for you. You can go check this fucking video out. All right? There it is. Wow, bro, you look older back then? Yeah. It's kind of wild that like now that I think about it, like Destiny has spoken so much about me that like he probably has polluted the fucking SEO. He probably has like completely polluted the fucking search engine optimization. Holy shit, Ben just posted this about you. Adorable Japanese Pika with the tip of its tongue sticking out. Thank you, chatter. I don't think Ben Shapiro will contest me or will talk about how like anti-Semitic I am or something, because I suspect that he has a lot of people who are actually anti-Semitic in his fan base, and he wouldn't want them to rush to my side to be like, oh, I actually agree with Hasan on this issue only, because they accidentally think that I am anti-Semitic when I am not. Would you debate Ben? Yes, I've said it a million times, dude. Ben, Steven Crowder, all these fucking dipshits, I would. Washington Post just published an opinion article on you. I can't tell if you guys are fucking with me or not. It's called Top of the Hour. We don't do ad breaks at the top of the hour, baby. But we do flex for subscribers. At the top of the hour, you can still subscribe for $6 or free with a Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub. This way you can send me links, like the Washington Post link that probably doesn't exist, but who knows? Here it is. Thank you. Thank you for the gifted subs. Schnoots Geo. A day old. Inside the online. Oh no, this is not an op-ed. This is not an op-ed. This is like I was quoted in this article. But it's not an op-ed. It's a normal piece. I think the protesters should have let Kamala speak. This is their fault. Also, campaigning with Cheney was a great idea. Oops. How the fuck did they find that? How the fuck did they find a video of Kamala looking like she's accidentally clicking the fucking reverse camera? Must be from her cooking streams? Yeah. Have you already heard about the RFK Jr. wellness farms? No. Prognosis guarded. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Chris Wallace quitting CNN. Wait, what? Why? He's going back to Fox. Literal FEMA camps. The RFK farms. Dude, you know what's crazy? You hit your all-time highest subscription count. Congrats. I did not realize that I had. But wait, he's quitting because of Joe Rogan and Charlemagne? What? You shut the fuck up. MP Sharky, multiply. Prognosis guarded, thank you for the 5 gifted. The move could add a new chapter to the story of the 77-year-old journalist. Dog, he's 77. Let him fucking breathe. You know what I mean? Do you see this Intercept writer? Yeah, I did. It was sick. Yeah, he's quitting. Chris Wallace is quitting because he said, it's my time to be president. What the fuck is this? Breaking. Kamala Harris, former comms director, has proposed that Biden step down within 30 days, allowing Harris to temporarily assume the presidency as a symbolic gesture. Oh, that's fucking awesome. That's really stupid. Wow. People are, yeah, like a Make-A-Wish kid, dude. That's sick. Anyway, and first and foremost, you would enforce the actual energy sanctions on Russia. Russia is essentially a gas station with nukes. Putin is selling more oil and gas now than he did pre-war through China and Russia. And you could couple that with unleashing our energy, lifting our LNG ban. And his economy and his war machine will drive very quickly. I just spoke with the Speaker of the Parliament of Lithuania. She buys 85% of her oil and gas from Texas and Louisiana. She said, what do you want me to do? Go back to buying from Russia? Because we've constrained our energy supplies. So I think that Putin will get to the table. We have leverage, like taking the handcuffs off the long-range weapons we provided to Ukraine as well. And then, of course, I think we have plenty of leverage with Zelensky to get them to the table. So it turns out American foreign policy is uniparty across the board. Huh. I thought that I thought that wouldn't be the case. What happened? Donald Trump, the peaceful dove. Here's Representative Mike Waltz. If Israel fails to fully implement the U.S. demands by November 13th, the U.S. could suspend its military assistance to Israel. While Iran is planning their next attack, Biden and Harris are threatening to hang Israel out to dry to score a win with the progressives before Election Day. This is a betrayal and a threat to America's security. It seems to me like he's not gonna do that. AOC, agree with you bar for bar how some of the left drives people away, i.e. chatters who accuse you of being transphobic. AOC should never respond to that. She should never, ever in a million years respond to that sort of stuff, though, as someone who's an elected representative. I wish she would not see those comments, and I wish she would not read those comments, and I wish she would just, be a normal politician that's like not as online. It's not a problem that she's online, as long as it's just to talk to people. Okay. But I don't like that. When people on the left or people who fucking criticize her and then she reads those criticisms and gets mad about those criticisms, like it's not good. Just don't. Who cares? Those people will all love you and ride for you if you make your positions known. Kyle Kalinske, no. What? Charlamagne the God said it's fine to misgender Caitlyn Jenner because she voted Trump. Correct? Ugh. No, dude. It's so dumb. It's so silly. Like, It's fine. Like, see, that's another example of like someone who is on your side, but is just like saying a position that I disagree with. At least Kyle won't dart to the right about pushback, lol. Yeah. All right. Let's move on from this fucking border czar piece of shit. There was some talks about Donald Trump potentially having a convo with Vladimir Putin, and even that Elon Musk had joined in on the conversation. Now Vladimir Putin is saying, no, it didn't happen.
It is a relationship that Europe is watching with bated breath. Two strongmen who are reportedly talking again. Donald Trump is said to have spoken with Vladimir Putin.
Why shouldn't AOC address transphobic comments? What? No. If people are saying, that's not the point, man. No, the point is, if someone were to say AOC is transphobic, she should not address that, okay? Because it's silly. That's it. That's my point. The other Kyle Kalinske take was an analog to the same situation where it's like, you can disagree with people who are on your side on certain issues, but it does not matter. Okay?
The day after his election win last week, he apparently urged Russia's leader not to escalate the war in Ukraine. If that's true, it doesn't seem to have worked. Russian air attacks there last night killed 6 people, according to local authorities. Reports, too, of an imminent new offensive. But just when Ukraine needs Western support most, there are fears US aid will be cut once Trump assumes office.
Trump threat to Europe's security has actually helped Ukraine discourse. Absolutely extraordinary saying the quiet part out loud moment. Remember Thierry Breton, who until recently was one of the top EU officials? He just admitted on French TV that before Trump's election, in the EU institutions have absolutely no right to speak about stopping the war in Ukraine. But now that Trump is elected, he rejoices he can finally speak up about it. Think about what that reveals about the EU today. We can't even openly speak up about, let alone act towards ending a war on our own soil if it's not U.S. policy. Beyond insane. That's the full quote. I was listening to you before returning here, and I said to myself while looking at you, it's all incredible. The elections took place yesterday, and today we're talking about something that we did not want to see, that we could not conceive, meaning the conditions to stop the war in Ukraine. It was again something that we didn't even allow ourselves to mention. In any case, I can tell you, in the European institutions, it was something that was really something on which we had absolutely no right to speak of. And well, now, here it is. What happened? Is the microphone busted? My microphone had a brief hiccup.
Shows.
Lose connection to the mic. Yeah, in any case, I can tell you in the European institutions, it was something that was really something on which we had absolutely no right to speak. And now here it is. We are here. Trump is an accelerator. We are witnessing an acceleration. So the thing here is that, or I guess the position that's interesting here is that, like, Ukraine is running out of manpower to fight this war regardless. Ukraine is running out of manpower to fight this war, which is something that American officials are aware of. And what's frustrating about it is that, like, now, if this is running its course, regardless of how much the defense contractors want to extend this war, if the war is running its course, then now you're just like leaving it up to Donald Trump to make this conditional exit. And I feel like Donald Trump's conditional exit is going to be even worse than whatever kind of conditional exit the Democrats could have put together. Ultimately, it's uniparty, though. And regardless, like, what people think Donald Trump is going to do and what Donald Trump is actually going to do is probably going to be two different things. What is this? The ADL is endorsing a proud proponent of the anti-Semitic and racist great replacement conspiracy theory, the dangerous ideology that inspired the perpetrator of the Tree of Life synagogue massacre. Mazel tov to Elise Stefanik on her nomination in the U.S. next ambassador to the... Of course the ADL is endorsing Elise Stefanik. Ugh.
This. Commemorating other wars in Europe, Kyiv's allies remained upbeat. The message from France and Britain: don't jump to conclusions.
I expect a President Trump-led administration to recognise that it is in America's interests, it's in NATO's interests, it's in the interest of all countries that believe in the international rules-based order and a stable and secure peace that Putin does not prevail.
The trouble is, Ukraine's allies aren't the only ones trying to woo the new White House administration. Moscow seems to be too.
The Kremlin's denied the reports of a call, saying they're pure fiction and that Vladimir Putin has no concrete plans to speak with Donald Trump at present. But words and actions don't always align here. Last week, the Kremlin said Vladimir Putin had no plans to congratulate Donald Trump on his election win. But then, of course, he did just that.
And that's not all. He even praised Donald Trump's bravery, apparently hoping flattery will lead to a peace deal in Moscow's favor. But what do Russians think will happen? Will Trump live up to his promise to end the war soon?
Trump is a businessman, so there is a glimmer of hope that he will abandon the military methods of escalation and perhaps the situation in Europe will improve.
This was part of the election campaign. He doesn't control everything.
Will Russia accept just another Minsk 2.0 peace, but the West keeps arming Ukraine? I don't think a proper peace is possible without a powerful third party making sure that Ukraine doesn't rearm and Russia doesn't try to sabotage Ukraine. I think that no matter what happens, that framing in and of itself is already like already a little slanted. I just don't think that. I don't know. I'm just being honest with you guys. I don't know how this ends. I just don't think that it will end in a way that is good. Okay? That's it. I just don't think that no matter what happens going forward in Ukraine, Ukraine will ever be the same ever again. I think that there are far too many people who have understandably been radicalized from this invasion, and they are armed to the fucking gills. So many people have died. So many people have been murdered. Okay? So many families displaced. No matter what happens, Ukraine will never be the same again, I don't think. There will most likely be blowback later down the line when Ukrainians start feeling like they've been disrespected by the West. You know, it'll probably take a couple decades. Who knows? But from the jump, it has been very Afghanistan. A North and South Korea situation, permanent hostilities. No, it's different. It's different than a North and South Korea situation because Russia is a far larger power than Ukraine. Russia is a regional leader. And beyond that, has a shit ton of people, a defense manufacturing industry. It's just like, no matter what happens, I fear that Ukraine will be unimaginably right-wing and more so than it has become. Yeah, Ukraine as a nation state has been permanently crippled. The demographic crisis alone has created an inescapable spiral. Is so completely fucked for the country and the people. Yeah. So a China-Taiwan situation? No. I mean, so far, China has played a significantly more restrained role in global politics than Russia has. Mersheimer says the results of this war will be dependent on the battlefield, not on any election outcome. Russia has lost zero faith in the West and the European third parties to settle this. What will happen depends on the battlefield in which Russia will win. Ukraine has sold so many of its assets, lost so many personnel, and is now in debt to loans. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that part, is that America has like picked up. The Western world has basically fucking bought Ukrainian state institutions for pennies on the dollar. Ukraine is in permanent debt. Their entire demographics have shifted. That's not true. Global politics doesn't stop in fucking Europe. China has impacted Africa and Southeast Asia greatly, but you don't hear it. No, I'm saying that like the Chinese relations with those who are in the orbit of the West have been significantly and dramatically more restrained than Russia's actions in Ukraine. Do you not agree with that? The fuck? Like the maximum like fucked up military escalation is like China doing shit that America does in the region on a regular basis, like military training, okay? Or spraying fucking Filipino boats with the Chinese Coast Guard with like water, you know? That, when you compare like Israel's actions in Gaza or when you compare Russia's actions in Ukraine, is like a laughable thing to even bring up. If the standard of our foreign adversaries is what Russia is doing in Ukraine, then what China is doing to America's regional allies is nothing in comparison. It's not even in the same conversation. China has always been unimaginably restrained when it comes to its like hot war approach. They never take that. They never take that chance. China's geopolitical and economic position seems like it will improve with time, and the reverse for the U.S. I know it's in the U.S.'s view that if China were to invade Taiwan, it would be beneficial for the U.S. if China attempts this sooner. Yeah.
Everything
I don't
himself.
know.
They're still a complex political machine.
He is the president of the country that started this all. I think he will support the interests of his country. They were not in our favor from the beginning.
Perhaps the only certainty of the next Trump presidency is that it's impossible to predict.
China invading Taiwan anytime is bad? Yes, that would be unimaginably disastrous. It would be a fucking worse version of Ukraine. Yeah, of course it would be bad. What do you mean? It would be a disaster for the planet, okay? What the fuck? The CHIPS Act was in part designed to decouple the United States of America from Taiwan and de-escalate USA interest in Taiwan. What do you suggest to Ukraine's political parties given the election? I fucking don't know. Are there any? Is there politics happening in Ukraine still?
So right now, all sides are hoping for the best. Ivor Bennett, Sky News in Moscow.
There was new fighting in Gaza overnight as Israeli forces launched more attacks against what they say are terrorist targets. Meanwhile, Israel is allowing for more aid to civilians in Gaza.
I'm from Lithuania. Let me just say that people here are getting increasingly fearful of what will happen, to the point where even people who do not support Trump are coping he can help end this. Is a very terrifying time right now. Yeah, I don't think he will, but who knows?
Gaza under pressure from the United States. Last week, the UN warned again that Gaza faces famine and the increase in aid.
I'm at an international school right now. My Chinese friends, the attitude in China is very hawkish right now. I think you're wrong on China. The propaganda there is right now is very hawkish. Yeah, I think that I'm just judging them by their past performance, number one. And number two, I mean, historically speaking, China has been so limited in its border conflicts overall that, like, their border conflicts with fucking India that just ended was literally dudes with fucking sticks beating the shit out of each other along the boundary. Okay? Like, that's the level of conflict that they engage in. Like, straight up sticks and fucking stones. So people died in that? Okay, but chatter. Like, again, set the standard of violence to, like, what you consider to be permissible or what you see on a daily basis. Chinese citizens being more hawkish doesn't necessarily translate to the Chinese government being more hawkish, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm just judging it by their past performance. Anyway.
Aid is not nearly
By
enough.
the way, this article is coming out right now because Biden's deadline is nearing. I think it's like today or tomorrow, for the record. And that's why they're like, oh, they're letting in aid. It's just not enough.
Elizabeth Palmer has more.
This fall in Gaza, aid workers doled out one food portion per mealtime per family. But as Israel choked off aid deliveries, the meals dwindled. Israel faces a U.S. deadline this week to increase aid or face restrictions on American military support. and it appears to be working. We went to see aid trucks ready to roll at one of 4.
Aid to Gaza to fall to the lowest level in 11 months despite U.S. ultimatum to Israel. Oh, you guys forgot? You guys forgot? Remember Biden said, cut it out, Bibi? Israel decided in the last month or so that it was going to make a permanent move to ethnically wipe out the northern Gazan population. And they've seen much success. Now, of course, while there was an election happening here, many people were not paying attention. A lot of people have already checked out from the story regardless. In the process, they banned UNRWA. They did a whole bunch of stuff. Okay? Biden came out a month ago before this election and said, you got to let in more humanitarian aid or we're going to stop sending you weapons because it's a violation of the law. And of course, unsurprisingly, Israel was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But the reason why they are covering this is basically to say that like Israel's still letting in some aid. You know what I mean?
For access points into Gaza this morning.
Under U.S. pressure, Israel has been increasing the amount of aid from a low of 30 trucks a day getting into Gaza in October to about 150 today, but that is still less than half of the American target.
Michael Oren is the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S.
I served in the Army over the summer up in the north, and there were some severe shortages back then.
A U.S. cutting off of military materiel one way or another could really hurt.
It's not just that, it's a signal given to other suppliers.
Israel's President Isaac Herzog will be in Washington on Tuesday for discussions with President Biden. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he has spoken with President-elect Trump 3 times in recent days. The president-elect has already said he wants the war in Gaza to end. For CBS Mornings, I'm Elizabeth Palmer in Tel Aviv.
We want to get to the Maureen Dowd piece. We're going to do something a little different this.
Oh my God. Democrats in the case of mistaken identity politics. Here we go. Another jerk off session. Another jerk off session where we talk about how the Democrats weren't centrist enough, weren't right wing enough. I'm skipping this shit. Especially because, look, this right here, I'll just show you this much, okay? Here. I just want to show you something.
This morning, because message for Democrats, Maureen Dowd's piece for the New York Times entitled
Just
Democrats and the Case of Mistaken Identity Politics. It really crystallized how some Democrats are finally waking up and realizing that woke is broke.
Now let's listen to this.
Under threat, the demographic shifts, the country isn't what all of these racially ambiguous children on Cheerios commercials are confusing the hell out of me.
Meanwhile, some serious questions are being raised on how the Harris campaign plowed through $1 billion and is now $20 million in the hole. Harpo per dad influencers, but in the end, all surrogate letting it
millions of that is a margin.
Disappearance. It's a disappearance of truth, and they lied about everything, but they're offering their help, you know, to expose the suspects, comb the fields, put flyers up on telephone poles. But the jig is up. It's not about left or right anymore. We know that you're the real killer, OJ. It's the media that fed the hoaxes, that created this complete, I don't know, mental breakdown. Identity politics has to go, but it has this permanent flaw. It can only work by telling you who isn't included as it tells you who is. When you
Let's go back.
We want to get to the more that your Miranda rights read to you. There were a lot of Democrats barking, people who don't represent anybody, he said, and the leadership of the party was of many Americans, disgusted at being regarded as insensitive for talking the way they'd always talked. At rallies, he referred to women as beautiful and then pretended to admonish himself.
There is like, I'm telling you right now, MSNBC, CNN, and all these other fucking media outlets are doing the exact same brain dead shit. They are manufacturing consent and basically lying to the public about how woke the campaign was, because this is a twofer. On the one hand, this abdicates responsibility away from the MSNBC aligned commentators, right? And all the consultants in the Democratic Party, because they didn't lose. The public failed them. They actually said, you know, we can't go woke. We can't go woke. And then the campaign still went woke when they fucking didn't. And the other thing that they're doing is basically repeating the same exact fucking right-wing perspectives that the Republican Party is representing, because they agree with it. Okay? Yeah, people who lost the election realized they were right all along. Okay? Now, I'm not saying this, and I don't want people to misunderstand me. Okay? I'm not saying this because I'm like, the Democratic Party should be running a Latinx-focused campaign or some shit. Okay? I'm not saying that at all. But the Democratic Party wasn't doing that anyway. This is just a way to avoid talking about the real fucking problem. Okay? The real problem is, why go for the diet version of racist sentiment when you can get the real full-strength soda? Okay? That's it. If you keep normalizing right-wing sentiment across the board from every outlet over and over and over and over again, yeah, people are going to be like, all right, I guess like this woke shit sucks. Why the fuck was I woke to begin with? Now, what's really funny, I didn't see those two talking about these problems for the past year, though they were saying here, we've been saying this again and again. All they talk was how bad Trump is. Wow, this newscast pivoted 180 since the election. As a Latino, I was never on board with the term Latinx. Many of us didn't. No one was saying it. No one was saying Latinx. Oh my God, Marco Rubio is going to be the fucking Secretary of State. Another fucking hawk. Huh. Interesting. We're going to nuke Cuba, by the way. I'm just letting you know. He's just... Little Marco, darkest timeline, we're nuking Cuba. President-elect Donald J. Trump is expected to name Senator Marco Rubio of Florida as his Secretary of State. This is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news as of 1 minute ago. Breaking it before CNN does, okay? Mr. Trump could still change his mind at the last minute, the people said, but appeared to have settled on Mr. Rubio, whom he had considered when choosing his running mate this year. Mr. Rubio was elected to the Senate in 2010 and has staked out a position as a foreign policy hawk, taking hard lines on China and Iran in particular. He initially found himself at odds with those Republicans who were more skeptical about interventions abroad, but he also echoed Mr. Trump more recently on issues like Russia's war against Ukraine, saying that the conflict has reached a stalemate and needs to be brought to a conclusion. All roads lead to war with Iran? No. All roads lead to war with China. Iran first, China tomorrow. Iran now, China tomorrow. Hasan, I love you, but when you say shit like that, it tends to happen, so please maybe don't. Okay, it's not my fucking fault. What do you mean? Mr. Rubio was a loyal surrogate for Mr. Trump during the campaign, even after being passed over as the VP pick. A spokesman for Mr. Rubio declined the comment, and a spokesman for Mr. Trump did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Mr. Trump has made his choice for a number of national security roles. He selected Michael Waltz, a Republican from Florida, to be his national security advisor, and Elise Stefanik to be the ambassador to the United Nations. Good stuff. First, it's your fault Trump won. Now it's your fault if we go to war. Yeah. Freaks, dude. Across the board. Freaks up and down. January 6th, Patriots are going to be finally freed from prison. Jared Moskowitz hyped up Stefanik's appointment. Ugh, gross. I do find it interesting that Donald Trump is choosing not one but two Floridians to decide the fate of this nation and its foreign policy. Interesting. Marco Rubio says that people in the anti-war camp in America are anti-Semites and pro-terrorists, whether they're on the left or right. And he just said Israel doesn't need our permission to start a war with Iran. Okay, great. Then they don't need our money either. Good to hear. Yeah. It's really... Hogs are salivating. Good riddance, Lena Khan. Oh, reason. Under Khan's leadership, the FTC has been bad for business and bad for consumers. Yeah. Wow. I wonder why the Libertarian magazine, Libertarian think tank's very own media outlet hates Lena Khan. Ugh. It's bleak, folks. It's fucking bleak. Shit is bad. Marco Rubio, Israel should respond to Iran in the way that the U.S. would respond if some country launched 180 missiles at us. And they should do in Lebanon what we would be demanding our leaders do if terrorists were launching anti-tank rockets at us from a neighboring country, forcing 60,000 Americans to evacuate their homes and farms for almost a year. Latin America is so cooked right now. Evo Morales got shot at and is claiming the current government, the leader of his party, attempted to kill him. The people are ready. Petro in Colombia and Xiomara Castro in Honduras are also urging people that coup attempts is underway. One last final push of global fascism before this is all packed up, I think. Come on, just a crumb. Just a crumb of global fascism, please. What can we do to combat this, bro? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. 90% of gamblers hit big before they quit, you know? Or 90% of gamblers quit right before they hit it big. And that's what America's like. That's what American fascism is right now. That's what the global fascist momentum looks like. I feel like we're just going to flip the table and destroy everything in the process before we let anyone else take a shot at being the hegemonic superpower. Wait, Trump has announced the abolition of the Department of Education?
Doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education.
Fuck it, dude. I mean, yeah, no, this is like endgame shit. We're in the end stage. Nah, that's like, he's like, oh, Project 2025, don't know what that is. Also, I'm abolishing the Department of Education.
In Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going.
There is literally no comparison in any of the countries. Like, these guys will be like, China's doing better than us. Like, they'll be like, Norway's doing better than us. And it's like, yeah, dude, they also have departments of education. Like, we need more. We need more nationalization on that process, not less.
Going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up. All those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student. Seventh, we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. It's called school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. I will be the happiest person in the world. But we want our children to have a great life and be successful. And 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate.
Why the fuck are people saying this is a deep fake? I'm losing my goddamn mind. What the fuck is going on? Half the chat is saying it's an old video. The other half of the chat is saying this is a deep fake. It's from Now This Impact. I think it's an older video of what he's going to do. Okay? I think it's an older video. Yeah, it's from September 13th, 2023.
Hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
You can make everyone shit their pants by repackaging statements he's already made. It's not fake. Not sure about the video, but there are plans now. No, I know. Is this real? No, dude. He didn't get a new hairline. Like, magically since the pod. Oh. It's gonna get so much worse.